Hi, and welcome to Gaston Spotlight. I'm Nick Black. Our guest today is, for our community profile, his name is Fred Sexton. He's been doing a lot with our community, so can you tell me a little bit about the Big Talk movement that you're a part of?
Yeah, sure. I wanted a way to have more intentional conversation with folks in my community. I live in Charlotte, and I didn't really have an easy way to go out and do that. You know, like you go to these networking functions and whatnot, and people pass you business cards, and you say, hey, that's great. I think you're a good person. They say, I think you're a good person too. Mm-hmm. But if I really wanted to be like, hey, tell me about what the meaning of life is or something like that, a lot of times they're like, that's really weird, man. I can't go there or something like that. So I joined a part of like a larger movement, which is called the Big Talk movement. And that's kind of what you do is you get together and talk about like really big issues with other folks that are friends of yours or friends of friends or things like that. Ideally, it's like a smaller amount of folks that get together and you have a good time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what makes it a like big talk? You know, like, and what is small talk? What would you consider to be small and big when it comes to that?
Well, small talk, I would say, is kind of like cocktail party conversation type of stuff. Like, I remember I used to live in this neighborhood, and you know, you get together with the guys out in the street, and you know, they have like a beer or whatnot, and we're talking, and they're like, you can kind of like, it's expected you'll talk about like football or the grass or you know, some other kind of like sporting event, and it was like, this is like, it's not that there's anything wrong with it. I just wanted like a different kind of conversation, and I wasn't able to go out and like find that. So I'm helping create that.
Cool. I think that's awesome. I think there is a lot of, it's like on the surface, like everyone talks on the surface, and I guess big talk is a little bit deeper than that. Talking about the meaning of life and things like that, people usually don't open up to other people and dive that deep into who they are even. I feel like a lot of people are too focused on athletes and what other people are doing and not focused on the stuff that they're trying to accomplish as much.
Yeah.
Like a lot of, sorry, I work at a sports bar, so a lot of people are just talking about football all the time, and I'm just not into it.
Right.
All the stats and stuff. You know?
Yeah. And it's just, that's just what it is. And I think part of the rationale behind that is that there are not environments such as Big Talk that are in our community that encourage folks to, you know, challenge beliefs and you know, really kind of evaluate their life and their perspective and where they headed and whatnot. There's a lot of, you know, things like sports bars and just a lot of different kinds of establishments that are meant to kind of just status quo, and I'm working on changing that.
Cool, I think that's great. So you're also an artist, specifically on the iPad, right? What software do you use for that, and what kind of art is it that you create on there?
Well, the name of the app that I use is called Art Rage. And, you know, I've gone through like a couple of different iterations of iPads as they have evolved, or I've dropped them and broken them or whatnot. And yeah, it's great. Like I can do my artwork. I travel a fair amount, so wherever I go. And I also have well, now I have a 9-year-old, which is kind of crazy to think about. But that was part of the other reason for getting into kind of digital art and technology is I had a studio set up in my house. And with all of like the solvents and the turpentine and everything, like even when I would like stop painting, I'd be like, sometimes it'd be a little like off stable. It'd be like, dude, man, this painting's so good. Like all the smells and everything. So it's like, I think the physical high from like all of those kind of things, and then just being like really lost in your thought and creating something So yeah, I didn't want to expose my kids to that, especially at a young age. They'll do that when they're older. And yeah, it's just it's a great way to efficiently create and share art with the world. So I've done, I think, like 900 paintings now or so on that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Through the app?
Yeah, through the same Art Rage app.
Wow, that's crazy. Is it easy to navigate and to use like the tools and stuff like that within the program?
Yeah.
Like Photoshop or whatever?
Yeah, it's definitely come a lot way, both with like the technology of the device itself as well as the functionality that the app provides. So yeah, it's super responsive. I mean, it used to be when I have like my tablet, like I would draw like a line and you could see like the line like lagging behind it. But now it's like you almost can't tell the difference. Like if I push down on this table and it was like an iPad and like I had an actual pen and like move them across, like it's instantaneous, and it understands like pressure, like how hard I push with my finger or stylus, and the angle, and I can throw stuff. So if I can have as an enjoyable experience with technology, yet also have the benefits of it, of like sharing and saving and like traveling, like I'm gonna continue to do that, embrace that, and encourage others to do it as well.
Yeah, and it's all like right there within that program instead of having all these like physical pieces everywhere that you have to organize and keep up with. You would have 900 paintings that were physical paintings instead of just having them stored in your device. You know what I mean?
Right. That is one thing I think about though with like kind of the value or like the monetary side of things is that, and I still am candidly like struggling with that. Like as a digital artist, like you create a piece of artwork, yet you can sell that to as many people as you want. So like if you just did like a traditional painting, you would just sell that to one person or whatever. You can do like proofs of it and different things like that, I guess. It's just it's a little bit different. So I'm figuring that out as far as like and I'm not doing it to, I don't think people really get into creating artwork to make a bunch of money. But if I was going to make something to support myself, that's just a challenge, I guess, right now that I'm working through.
Yeah, it does seem rough for a lot of like painters to make a career out of it, at least. Do you do so you do like painting with kids at the hospital as well? You do. I know you do a lot of work with the community, but that's specifically one part of it that I heard. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, well, I guess the story before that was that my buddy, one of my best friends, and I totally believe this idea that if you want to get better at something, do it every day. So like we're all in this room, and you guys are focused on furthering your education related to video creation and lights, and there's all kinds of people around here that the people on the TV can't see, and so y'all are dedicated to that. So I would encourage each of y'all, if it's video or whatever you want to do in your lives, just to do it as much as you can and do it religiously every day for as long as you can sustain. So that's what I did with artwork. I just said, okay, on whatever day, many years ago, I said, I'm just going to create a painting a day, initially for a year, and then I did 365, and then I was like, okay, well, I did that. Now what the heck am I going to do? So I took like a break for like a month or two, and then I was like, I kind of miss this. So then I did another like 2 years of them. And now I'm doing more like commissions and things like that, but I'll still do what I call like a daily kind of a thing. So yeah, in doing that, being around my kids a bunch, they saw me spending a lot of time in front of this shiny device, which they love just inherently because it's cool and there's games on it. And I'm kind of reluctant to just throw the device in front of them and say like, I'm going to go space out for an hour and you can do whatever you want on this thing. So I kind of like that they were interested in what I was doing, And they're like, oh, like this is really cool. And I would show them how to do something. They're like, that's so cool. Like you can mix colors and you can do, all the creative stuff you would do on a piece of paper yet on this device. And so they really got into that and they started creating paintings. And then I went to this one event, I forgot the name of it, but it's at this fancy building in Charlotte, and they had a bunch of cool people talking, all different nonprofits. And there's a gal, Rachel, from this organization that I'm connected to through the hospital called Arts for Life. And she got up and just telling about kind of this idea and how they approach art therapy with kids in the hospital. And with my kids at home, being really into creativity and also technology through the iPad, I approached Rachel and I was like, hey, can I come in and do paintings like I'm doing now with my kids, but for kids in the hospital, and perhaps bring like a little bit of joy into their life and creativity. And she was like, that's such a great idea. Now, in addition to all the reasons I said, and also because there's a lot of kids in the hospital, like, so they have an activity room on every floor. This is at Levine's Children's Hospital in Charlotte, that like if you're on contact precaution, meaning that you have a communicable disease or your immune system is really low, that you can't interact with other kids and a lot of the volunteers that would do the artwork. So I can, just with my iPad, I have like this nice case on it, go into their room and we can jam out and have fun, and then create artwork, and then I can leave and go to another kid's room. So, I mean, everything has to be wiped down. So again, if I had 18 tubes of paint and a canvas and a bunch of brushes, each one of those things, like the cap, you'd have to like sterilize and all this stuff. So it brings an opportunity of creativity and exploration to them, which I think is extremely therapeutic for the mind, the body, and the soul, kind of everything that they wouldn't normally be able to get. So it's been a real treat and pleasure to be able to share that with them.
I'm sure they had a good time while you were there, showing them things on the program and stuff. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Nobody that's in the hospital wants to be in there. At least the patients. I mean, people like me want to go there. There's a lot to give, but anything that you can do to just brighten up their day. Like a lot of times, especially with the kids that are in like contact precaution, there's not a lot of folks that are doing a lot of fun things that are coming in the room. They're coming in, they're getting prodded and stuck and
getting stabbed with needles.
Yeah, and just kind of and that's a part of healthcare. That's what is needed to do. So I like the idea of coming in and being like a totally different person. Like I don't wear typical hospital clothes. I have this Arts for Life shirt that we wear. And we come in and a lot of parents will pull me aside afterwards and say, this is the first time my kid has smiled in like a long time. So it's feels really good to give like that. So it is unique and it's fun, and I get a lot out of it. And I know that the kids and the parents and like nurses and doctors will pull me aside. It's like a lot of, because we're kind of like an underground organization there. There's only a couple of us, and they're like, who the heck are you? Like, we thought you were this patient's brother. And I was like, no, I'm with Arts for Life, and it's under the Department of Child Life. And they said, okay, well, let me get your cell number. And if I have a kid that is having a bad day, I'm going to shoot you a message. And I said, okay, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I understand that you do a lot of, you get the community involved in the meditation that you do as well, and some of the kids. Do you invite some of the children from the hospitals that you do the artwork with to these meditations, or how do you go about doing that?
We're working on that. So there's Arts for Life that I'm a volunteer with, and there's another organization that I help run, which is called Youth Meditation. So there's more, it's more complex to bring in like myself and other meditation instructors into the hospital. Because if I go in by myself with one kid, then I can do that. But there's not a system like Arts for Life related to meditation at the hospital now. So that's something that they're evaluating. the way that youth meditation works now is that we go into schools. Most of the time, they're Title I schools, and practice with the kids like before school, and are with them, and we just have a lot of fun. We do all different kinds of like breathing exercises. We do this thing that's called laughter yoga, which is just a riot. Like I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but what you do essentially is you trick your mind and your brain into laughing, and then once you see somebody laughing, it becomes contagious, and then the kids just lose it, and everybody's laughing and have a really good time.
Sounds like a lot of energy.
Yeah, I mean, they got, you get 22 third graders, like they're just ready to blow the roof off the place just on a normal day.
Yeah.
So it's great to be with them. And especially with the schools that we're in right now, they just have a lot of issues. Some of them do, outside the home, just, with food or parents and their clothes, and, add in school and just being a really confused individual. It's, I think so. You really, I mean, not with everybody, but there's definitely some kids that you connect with, and you see a little sparkle in there, and they'll say that they did their morning breathing, each day for the last week or something like that. You're like, oh wow, that's really cool.
And you're introducing them to something that could be really beneficial later on, and if they're starting these breathing exercises, maybe later they can kind of remember, like, it helped them get through something, and it'll come back later on. You know what I mean? Did that make any sense at all?
Yeah.
Cool.
We work with this school down in Rock Hill, and I hear there's some kids that don't know where they're going to stay at every night. So they're moving around. They're in like a hotel, or just at like a friend's house, or they're just getting by. So to be able to know that, it's going to be okay, and that, you may not have a bed tonight, but that, you have the opportunity to still, live and experience life at that age is, it's really nice to be able to share that with folks, and that, things are going to be okay, and life will go on, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So you're a cyclist as well. Do you do some community cycling where you get people involved too, and do y'all go out on expeditions and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I always had ambitions of being like this professional cycling person, whatever that was. So I started off, I just like riding my bike, and I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I started racing, and then I started doing more racing. Then I hired a coach, and then like a nutrition person. And then I guess I'm kind of like, now that I think about it, like with the painting and like some of these other things, like I'm going to do something. I'm going to like do it like to the max. So I did that, and that was fun. And then, I had some injuries. And then sometimes it'd be like riding along, and this person like right beside me, they'd like fly off the mountain, and I'm like, oh boy, I hope that doesn't look good. Like, I don't want to be that person and caught up on a tree or something like that.
In the middle of going around a turn or something, they would just
or
go
just
off.
or just like crazy stuff that happens. So, and then when I started to have kids too, I was like, well, it's probably not the safest thing to do. So yeah, I started a bicycle. Help run a bicycle touring company with my buddy that we do trips right now around the country. Most of them are in North Carolina, South Carolina. We're looking at doing some international things. So the idea is to encourage folks just to get out there and ride their bicycle and enjoy that, and push them a little bit, and like do stuff that they wouldn't normally do. So this will be our third year this summer going out to Colorado, and we ride around the state for a week. It's like 500 miles, and we climb like 50,000 feet or something like that. So we could go over some of the biggest mountains in the continental U.S. which is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And
I bet so.
yeah, we take care of everything, get all their hotels and food and accommodations, so they don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So we do that, and we do, like I said, rides around here. We were doing like a couples ride and whatnot. So yeah, and then I'm affiliated with other organizations in town. One is called Trips for Kids.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that works is the community donates, what do they say? Dusty but not rusty bikes. So bikes that essentially could be reconditioned and then sold to folks that want kind of a good beginner bike. And then they take that money and they pour it into what's called an Earn a Bike program, which is a program that youth can come in, and for 6 weeks, 1 day a week, they come in and they learn about bicycle safety, how to fix a flat tire, how to ride to school, and other kinds of things that are important for being a kid on a bike. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of that, they get the bike for free. So then there's other kind of related. We do trips and things like that. So affiliated with that, kind of a smaller organization called Bicycle Friday, which encourages kids to ride their bikes to school on Friday. So I'm doing that with my kids now. We're getting more people with that.
A change of pace from
Yeah.
getting a ride to school.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, to kind of get the energy going and everything. We encourage kind of kids to come out there. We give them donuts, so it's a little bit of a carrot to get out there in the door. And then there's a organization called the 24 Foundation that I do volunteer work with as well. So they put a big bike ride, mostly in Charlotte, but a couple other cities around the country. And they raise money for cancer research and cancer survivors.
Wow. Yeah. You have a lot of things going on for sure. How do you juggle all that stuff with your full schedule? It's you're probably just used to it by now, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I get that question asked a fair amount of times, and I've never had like a real job before where it was just like 9 to 5 or kind of did something and whatever. I feel like I'm incredibly lucky to be able to live my life the way that I do now. And like I do a bunch of stuff. I'm not just like sitting around on the couch. I really like it. So I would, and maybe said a different way, just like do what you think that you really like, and maybe we'll come to find that you love it, and then like hold on to it like as hard as you can, and give every ounce of energy that you have towards it. And if it doesn't work out, like at least you gave it a good shot, and then you can try something else. But yeah, man, we got one life, so
yeah, just do what you want to do.
Yeah,
do what you're passionate about.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming out, man. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, great. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was Fred Sexton, guys. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.